one of the first times I cracked the mic, and this story just sticks in my head. I'm so nervous. I had a drink sitting on the counter, headphones right there, and I go to reach for the headphones and knock the drink over, of course. Water goes everywhere. Pick up the headphones. I'm in a rush. I have to be on like now. The little foam, the sponges on the headphones soaked up all the water, so I squish on the, water's dripping everywhere. I'm trying to act, normal on the radio, and that's one of my first breaks is squishy headphones, which is not comfortable. The biggest high point of my radio career, or, this has got to be right up there, is I got a chance to host a charity event at Neverland where Michael Jackson was. And I'm a big Michael fan. And I didn't think he was going to be there. I really didn't. I thought maybe he'd, wave from a distance, maybe, but I didn't think he would actually show up. And we arrive at Neverland. There's the big tents and everything. They had these tents set up, looked like giant circus tents. Fans, that paid money to be there for the charity were in there. And I jump on the stage, and they said, "Hey, JoJo, can you page Mike Tyson to the stage?" I'm like, "Mike Tyson? Okay. Can Mike Tyson?" I never said that before. And, of course, Nick and Aaron Carter, Nick from the Backstreet Boys, Aaron Carter, they were there, and I'd known them. But then it came time, they said, "Okay, JoJo, Michael's going to come up on the stage. If he needs the mic, just, hand him the mic." I'm like, "Wait, Michael's coming here?" "Yeah, he is." Oh, my God. So Michael comes on stage. "Would you like the mic?" "No, I'm fine." Everybody's going crazy. We bring a birthday cake up on stage because it was Michael's birthday a couple of days after that, I believe. And we start singing happy birthday to Michael. Once again, the fans are going crazy. Michael reaches and hands a piece of cake, grabs a piece of cake and hands it to somebody in the audience. And I'd heard about these cake fights at Neverland, and I have the mic, and I'm standing kind of in the back. And there's video of this somewhere. I said something to the effect of, "Oh, no, we're going to have a cake fight." And then Michael turns to Nick and Aaron Carter. They said something. I'm not sure what they said. I've even talked to Nick and Aaron. Of course, rest in peace, Aaron. But I've talked to them since then, and they kind of forget how that conversation went, too. But they start talking. One thing leads to another. Cake between them. It's going crazy. Then Michael Jackson turns, looks directly at me with a handful of cake, and he pauses. And my guess is he's like, "Maybe I shouldn't throw cake on this guy because I don't know him." So what I said to him was something to the effect of, "Hit me, Michael." And then Michael hits me with cake. And then I had cake on. It was such a moment. And my wife was in the audience. She knew what that meant, to me. And I didn't throw cake on him because I'm not dumb. But in a cake fight with Michael Jackson, one of the most an unforgettable guest. I mean, there's a lot that come to mind, but one that really sticks in there for, a variety of reasons is Kobe Bryant. Kobe, years ago when he first, joined the Lakers, and that was in my early days at Kiss FM, Kobe invited me to host what he called his Kobe Bowl. It was a charity bowling tournament at Jerry's Deli in Studio City. So he comes in, and he, is promoting his Kobe Bowl, and he was super nice. And I recall we took a picture, and if you ever find this picture, I guess we had dinner, some food served, ready for him to eat if he wanted, and it was shish kebab. So there's a picture of me standing next to Kobe, and I'm looking up at him because he's taller than me, and there he is. And if you look in his other hand, you see a shish kebab in his hand, and it's if you don't know the context of it, it's like so random. Like, why is Kobe standing there with the shish kebab? That's the reason why, because it's what we were serving that day. But he came in, he was super nice. He signed a basketball for me in a jersey and all that. And then I hosted a couple of years of his bowling tournament. I met Jay Leno over there and Cindy Crawford, some of the big stars of that day. And we had a great time. And I will never forget. Of course, what happened since was just tragic and gut-wrenching for anyone who lives in L.A. or just anyone in general. But he has to be one of the most, if not the most, unforgettable guest I've ever had, among many. My favorite listener interact. This is not my favorite, but this one is memorable for sure. This is what you should not do. I'm backstage at some concert. I'll keep this as vague as I can, but I'm backstage at some concert, and it's actually before the show, but we're roaming around backstage and whatnot. And the security guard, one of the security guards, comes up with a listener or a fan, I guess you could say. And she said, "Hey, JoJo, this person's here to meet you." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And the girl, she comes up, and she's like, "You're JoJo?" I'm like, "Yep." And she starts to get excited, which, oh my God, I felt really, who doesn't love that? "You're JoJo?" "Yeah, you're JoJo." "Yeah." And then she slaps the holy hell out of me. But she still has this smile on her face. And I never met this girl in my life. And I'm like, "What'd you do that for?" And she goes, "I just wanted you to remember me." True story. And then they took her out. I never filed any kind of charges or anything like that, but that was the most bizarre thing. And ever since then, I'm kind of, that one, not my favorite, but certainly memorable. My toughest on-air moment. Had a couple of tough on-air moments when it comes to, real sensitive topics. Somebody passing away. When Michael Jackson passed, talking about Michael again. I wasn't actually on air when he passed, but people knew that I was such a big fan, and a lot of outlets started calling me, asking me for, my thoughts on Michael and memories with him. And I'd only met him that one time with the cake fight. If you missed the cake fight story, search that. But to talk about someone who was such a big impact on me just as a fan was pretty rough. More recent, when Liam Payne passed. And I didn't really know. I mean, I'd met Liam before, but it just, on Kiss, we're usually talking about, 9 times out of 10, something great, something fun. And then you hear about Liam from One Direction, who is young, passing away. It just, once again, not that I knew him super well, but talk about a gut punch. And it's, you never want to hear that happening to anyone, and certainly someone that they were bigger than life. He was part of One Direction, and it's just tough to talk about on the air, but you have to do it, I mean, the format you normally follow, having a good time, taking phone calls, everybody's wanting to win some prizes, that just goes out the window, and I think those are always really tough. Live on air oops moments. One that comes to mind, I had Lady Gaga in the studio. And in the studio with us were a bunch of fans. They won tickets and won passes to be there and watch the interview and meet Lady Gaga. And all of a sudden, alarms start going off in the studio. Off air, we're off air. An engineer runs in. Hey, we're off air. I'm like, okay. We're off air. Everybody's going crazy. We're off air. So I still had my headphones on. She still had her headphones on. Listeners were still there. So we just kept, talking. And I'm always recording, in situations like that. So we just kept talking, kept chatting. And luckily, she didn't curse. Nobody in the studio. I didn't curse. But I get a call about 5 or 6 minutes into it from my boss, John. And he's like, "Hey, jackass." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're still on the air." I don't know how much. I mean, the alarm is like off air. Engineers panicked. Off air. Off. Everything up. And somehow, somebody is still hearing what we're saying. I mean, maybe it was, I don't know. That story, still haven't quite figured that one out. An interview I would love to redo. I think, you know what? Years ago, and the interview went great, and I've talked to Janet since then, but I talked to Janet Jackson. And when an artist comes in and they have a famous sibling or famous family member, you typically, I stay away from that, or I'll touch just a little bit on it, but not much, because you want the interview to be about them and not their famous brother. Now, that's a weird case because she's super famous too, obviously. But I chose not to ask her about Michael because I wanted to focus on Janet, which was still the right move in hindsight. But after Michael passed, I always wished that I would have had a chance to say, "God, just so you know, your brother meant, you mean a bunch to me, and your brother just changed my life, because he really did." Later, I guess I did have a chance to redo it to a degree. I did tell Janet my Michael Jackson cake fight story. And the only thing she said, she smiled, she goes, "Yeah, that sounds like Michael," something like that. But I guess looking back, I would like to redo that interview, but I do understand why. I think I chose wisely in how I handled that, but I still would like, part of me would like to go back and, and do that one again and just have a nice. And by the way, in the future, I would love to do a 2-part Janet Jackson interview. I would love to have 1 hour, just Janet, and the second hour, Michael. Tell me everything about Michael, because I think I'm just, he was the one. Everybody has an artist as a kid that really changed him, and I think he changed a lot of people, and he changed a lot of artists today. Like I do a lot of work in the K-pop world, and I think everybody in the K-pop space just. He influenced so many, and not just K-pop, pop, R&B, hip-hop. I mean, he changed the game. So I would love to do a piece with Janet going in-depth about Michael. And then a full hour, just go nuts on the world of Janet Jackson. I wonder if that'll ever happen. We'll see. A challenge that radio people don't always see. I would like to think most of us get this at this point in time, but anybody who's just on the radio and not doing all the other social platforms and this and that, you got to be everywhere. You can't do one thing anymore. But the same rules still apply. You got to capture someone's soul. And the way to do that is to give them your soul. And I think if you just follow that simple, strategy, things will work out. You got to give something to get something. Give your soul, give a piece of you to get people to really invest in you as well. But you can't do it just on the radio. You got to be on the radio. That's a big one. All the other platforms as well. I hope that's good advice. If not, just erase that. One segment I love doing, and anybody who knows me knows that I do this just about every single interview. I am obsessed with the paranormal. Ghost, haunted houses, all that stuff. I've been like this since I was a kid. My mom used to take me and my sister on picnics to graveyards where we didn't know anybody there. I would run around there, and something must have happened to me that it turned into this obsession. I've got a podcast called Paranormal-ish. I talk to people who've had real paranormal encounters. So every interview, I ask the artist, have you ever had a paranormal encounter? And the reason is I ask them because, well, they're just a human for starters, but two, they do a lot of traveling. They stay in a lot of hotels. Most of these hotels have, believe it or not, a little dark side, a haunted room. Don't walk on the 7th floor. Don't look in the mirror in the ladies' room. And with all the traveling they do, turns out they have quite a few stories. Now, I don't just ask celebrities. I ask everyday people like me and you. But that's a segment that I love. If I had to take away everything else, that would suck, but don't take away the paranormal segment. Just don't do it. It's my absolute favorite. So have you had a paranormal encounter? Let me know in the comments. If I could relive one radio moment. Years ago, I'm in the studio with the actor Wilmer Valderrama. Big shout to Wilmer. Great dude. We get a call from, on the request line, not set up through a publicist or whatever, we get a call from Britney Spears on the request line. And she wants to comment on something that I did on the air. And what I used to do back in the day was I would take one of the artist's songs and I would do a JoJo rap in the song. Well, she was calling because I did something over one of her tracks. I forget which song it was. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to go great or terrible. One of the two. She's going to love it or hate it. And luckily, at the time, she loved it. So I think I would love to go back, relive that one. Another thing, here's a moment I would love to relive. My first day on Kiss FM in Los Angeles. I'm just, I'm not even doing my official air shift. I'm doing like a weekend thing or whatever it was. Just to get used to the control board. And as I'm testing out the control board, we get this call. These girls call up, hey, JoJo, play whatever song. And she goes, by the way, my friend, you probably know my friend. She's in a couple of TV shows. She's an actress. And I'm like, oh, sure. Okay, cool. She was on ER. I'm like, what? No, stop it. And she was also in the movie Interview with the Vampire. This is when I first started now, years ago. I'm like, wait, and I'm a big fan of that movie, Interview with the Vampire. I'm like, what? Yeah, her name's Kirsten. Like, stop it. She goes, yeah, we'll come by the station if you want. Hey, Mom, can you? I'm like, wait, oh, you're going to, what? Yeah, let me see if my mom will take us by the station and we'll say hello. I'm like, okay. Well, I had, my producer there and, make sure, I thought maybe I'm going to get robbed. I don't know. But sure enough, these girls show up, and one's a young Kirsten Dunst. And that was so, now in my head, I'm like, it was so surreal. I'm like, did that really happen? But yeah, she came up, said a quick hello. I have no pics to prove it. One of these days, I would like to revisit, have her come in and revisit that moment with her. But that was so crazy. My first day on KISS, Kirsten Dunst stopped by, just requesting a song with her best friend. My own personal radio tradition, if this is even a tradition, at the end of every interview, and this started so accidentally, random, but at the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official. Bam. And I've done that for years now. I didn't realize it was a thing until I went to KTLA. There's a station in Los Angeles, TV station called KTLA. And I was filling in for a guy at that time named Sam Rubin. Rest in peace, Sam. But I started doing the interviews, and I would fist bump to make it official. And the anchor, Frank, says, JoJo, is that your thing? I'm like, oh my God, I think maybe it is my thing. Yeah. So that's my own little tradition that I'm going to keep, I think, forever. Fist bump to make it official. Radio in 2025 is just basically media. Because if you come to a radio station, at least the ones I'm familiar with here, the radio is just one of the many things you do. Yes, you're going to be filmed. Yes, there's photos going to be taken. Yes, we're going to have audio. We're going to have video. It's a one-stop everything. Pick a social platform, we're on it. Radio in 2025 is basically a content creation service. Just one of the outlets happens to be on the radio. So that's kind of it. I mean, it's not just radio anymore. It is a content hub, and that's what we do. My favorite part of being part of the iHeart family is just, I'll keep it simple, it's just family. We're super tight here in LA, and the KISS FM family I've been with for forever now. We are about as tight as you can get. My personal family knows everybody's families and vice versa. It is a real, no BS family kind of a situation. And we have extended family all throughout the country, with the iHeart families and coworkers and all that. But I think the key word there is family, without a doubt.